This afternoon, when I went to visit Mary in the personal care home, it was bright and sunny and clear, and I thought, oh good, it's going to be good for tonight for photographing that extra big moon that everybody's talking about. But by the time I left a couple of hours later, it had clouded over to the point that you couldn't see any blue sky anywhere, and I thought, well, there goes the moon. Now, I had already been thinking about this since yesterday, and I had planned on using the Looney 11 rule. And the Looney 11 rule is something like the Sunny 16. Now, the Sunny 16, for those of you who don't know, is you set your ISO and your shutter speed to the same thing. In other words, say you wanted to have it at 200 ISO, because your camera shoots pretty good at that, well, then set your shutter speed to a 200th of a second, if you can, or as close as you can to that. Then your f-stop will be f16 for a bright sunny day. Now, for the moon, a bright moon, you do exactly the same thing, only your f-stop is f11. So tonight what I did was I started out at ISO 200 and 1/200th of a second, and I had the lens at f11. Now, this particular lens is actually sharper at around 5.6. So that would be a 400th of a second at f8 or an 800th of a second at 5.6. So I cranked up the shutter speed to 800 and I opened the lens up to 5.6. And that's what all these shots are. They're all 800ths of a second at 5.6 at 200 ISO. Oh, and I used a tripod, and I used a remote shutter release. Now, they could have been a little sharper, but the moon was slightly hazy, and I just, sorry, I can't do anything about that. Anyway, I'm kind of happy with what I got here. Now, I don't know why it is I don't have a more powerful lens. This lens that I've got, it goes from 70 millimeters, zooms out to 200 millimeters, and it's on a full frame camera. So that means it's actually only 4 power when you're at 200 millimeter. And so as you can well imagine, and as you're going to see here, the moon is actually quite small on the image sensor. So I had to crop it quite a bit to get what you see. And that's one reason why it's not quite as sharp as it could have been had I used, say, a 600 millimeter lens, which I might get someday, who knows, if I'm lucky. Now, I first brought these images up in Lightroom. It's kind of like Photoshop. And then I later brought them up in Photoshop to crop them. But I did very little adjusting on the light. So that Looney 11 rule, it really works well if the moon is nice and bright, like it was tonight. Now here's something else that you camera buffs might be interested in. I used the autofocus for every shot. I found with this camera, in most instances, it can focus better than I can, so I just let it go to it, especially on a distant object, and it don't get more distant than the moon. And one more thing, and this will be the final thing. I had the vibration reduction, at least that's what Nikon calls it, image stabilization, I guess you might call it. It was turned on. Now, on a tripod, maybe I didn't need it, but I turned it on anyway, just in case the breeze that was out there might be sort of shaking the camera. So, I think that's about it, and thank you for watching my moon pictures.